Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to another Rage video where today, ladies and gentlemen, something a little bit different because thank you so much to Avast VPN. And they don't sponsor this video, but I'm glad that they thought to let me know about these sorts of things. So one of the things that happened to me roughly about 3 years ago, now there is a bit of a story to this, is that it was the first time I really was exposed to the Dark Souls, or rather, not so much Dark Souls, but basically the front line of From Software's development cycle. And this all came into effect when I played Dark Souls 3 for the very first time. And the learning curve in terms of how I started to, if I literally booted the game right now and started playing it, because it was, one of my ideas was literally to do like a Let's Play channel of sorts, and it was Dark Souls 3 that I chose as like my, the start. The only problem is that that whole project was a failure of like epic proportions, you may say, and well, the fire certainly didn't fade on that day. But what was important is that it was really what started me on like the cycle to getting into a lot of fantasy games and a lot of fantasy novels generally, for that matter. And when I say fantasy, I'm more talking on the lines of, well, just the sort of like from Lord of the Rings to WoW to Dark Souls and various other miniature properties out there. And when it comes to World of Warcraft, as someone who literally this time last year, I could not tell you basically anything at all about this game. And I still have actually not played it properly because, well, for reasons that are a bit complicated and hard to get into, I'm literally never giving a single pound to Blizzard for the rest of my life because I don't personally think that through their practices and whatnot, they deserve anybody's money, but that's besides the point, which makes it a bit more awkward, the fact that we are checking out probably the most iconic IP, that is World of Warcraft. Now, strictly speaking, there's probably quite a lot of things that I'm not 100% clear on in terms of where does World of Warcraft... I know that it sort of follows on from Warcraft 3, but again, since I have no real prior knowledge to the series in terms of like a chronological timeline, since before the minimum like is like during the I think it's like called the Warlords of Draenor, but again, as someone who's literally sort of like coming in, the most I can actually say is that I do know quite a lot of some of the villains and some of the actual heroes of the story and whatever else. But the thing is that if that is as much as I do know, then that's sort of all I know. So I'm still incredibly new to all this, but what better way to actually sort of immerse oneself in the experience is to check out the cinematics. And again, this is not going to share the full story, but what I do think it's going to share light on is sort of what the widespread critical acclaim these games certainly have, not to mention all their expansions, including whatever the hell escalation is. Yeah, I've heard some things about that, but let's do this in order. So we're gonna check out there's at least like 6 or I think it's like 8 cinematics, and this goes all the way from the original World of Warcraft all the way to Dragonflight. So there's at least because I think there's things like Shadowlands, Warlords of Draenor, Wrath of the Lich King. There's several others, but we're just sort of like going to check out one at a time just to see what the widespread appeal is and if it means diving into a bit more. So if you guys want to check out the original video for yourselves, links will all be in the description down below. So here we go, the original World of Warcraft cinematic. That's a cool start. Okay, here we go.
4 years have passed since the mortal races banded together and stood united against the might of the Burning Legion. Though Azeroth was saved, the tenuous pact between the Horde and the Alliance has all but evaporated. The drums of war thunder once again.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the original World of Warcraft cinematic. Now, I'm sort of going through... What I've decided to do is I wanted to go through the list of the cinematics from the perspective of someone who is basically just sort of going into this almost completely, blind. As though, again, imagine I'm somebody from 1999, I would have to, I think that's sort of when it came out, or it might have been in the year 2000 or so, roughly early 2000s. So I've got to go through this at the perspective of, for someone who's, basically, imagine this is trying to pitch me the idea of World of Warcraft. So it's it's basically a war of fantasy creatures from elves, dwarves, trolls and whatever monoliths like golems, necromancers, pyromancers, sorcerers, magicians, priests, wild beasts, animals, Vikings, perhaps. Basically, every single race under the sun. And basically, the line is very simple. You live among Azeroth, but you are fighting basically every single race of monster or creature from across the land. I don't know why on earth they decided they wanted to just take the Alliance. Well, I say it's the side of Azeroth. I don't know why they would immediately squabble into a civil war immediately, as opposed to just coexisting. It would be of some interest to discover about what exactly this Alliance and the Horde is supposed to be, or why there was such a definitive split between them and the Burning Legion. I don't know whether or not the Burning Legion is possibly meant to be... I don't know if Draenor is meant to possibly be in the Burning Legion or certain other lands, because I've heard that from a narrative perspective, a lot of these zones and landscapes, I think they're supposed to like play much larger roles into this, like Sunwell, for example. But again, you're talking about someone who is very, very new to this whole experience. But what I will say is that actually, if you were to pitch this to me right now, I would at least want to know what the whole deal was about, which is definitely the way to go. I mean, long-term players of from Warcraft 1 to 3 would all probably sort of be behind the idea anyway. But go one step further and appeal to a larger audience, and I think this is where it probably all begins. So again, you may think that just the original cinematic for World of Warcraft it seems as though it doesn't try to explain a great deal, but I also think that it works in its favor for many ways. And just picture the idea of just being able to be a part of a whole world, and it's sort of it's probably one of the best appeals that you could ever have for a game, is that you exist in a world far bigger than you could ever imagine, and it is as you see it. So anyway, that is going to conclude for my first introduction to the World of Warcraft cinematic. Now, I know there are plenty of others coming, and this is going to be very, very interesting going from this point onwards. And if you liked this video and you liked the original cinematic, please leave all your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. And we cannot wait to see all of you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.